morning, everybody. It's so good to see you. I'd love to invite you to stand up and sing with us as we start this morning with some worship. Let every eye be fixed upon King Jesus. Let every tribe and tongue prepare the way. Let every heart be filled with expectation. 'Cause the King is coming, yeah, the King is coming. Open the doors up, come let the light in. People get ready to worship Him. Open the doors up. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us in worship this morning. You guys can go ahead and take a seat. We've got some announcements for you guys, so go ahead and check these out.
What's up, Kensington fam? We have so many amazing things that are coming up for our students over the next couple months that we don't want you to miss out on. First up is our Breakaway Takeover. If you are a middle school student looking for an amazing night of fun to destroy the winter blues, you will not want to miss this. On March 10th, all of our campuses will be joining up for a service specifically created with middle schoolers in mind at our Orion campus. But that is just the beginning. We'll then load up buses to head down to Kalahari Resort, where we are renting out the entire water park just for our students. Takeover is such a great way for our students to get away for some fun while also building community with other students learning to walk with Christ. But it doesn't end there, because we know how important these relationships will be for our middle schoolers over the next few years. So we'd love for them to join us for a week to take them even deeper. This summer, on July 31st through August 4th, we are heading back for our second year of Mixed Camp. This conference-style camp will encourage your student to take tangible steps in their journey with Jesus. Throughout the week, they will engage with hundreds of other middle school students from around the state for games, worship, breakouts, and so much more. Now, if you're a high schooler, we definitely did not forget about you. On June 20th, we're heading back to the Dominican Republic to partner again with Go Ministries, an organization that seeks to empower passionate local leaders serving inside their own cultures to redeem people, renew communities, and restore creation. Our students will be working with local churches, helping with building and service projects, working with kids camps, and putting on local sports clinics. I know how much this trip impacted my own life, so I cannot wait to share it with you. You can find out more about all of these trips and other events that we have going on throughout the year at our website. But please don't hesitate to come and meet with one of our student team members. We would love to get to know you better. Thanks for joining us for our second weekend of our Micah 6 series. We hope you enjoy the rest of the service.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Steven, and I am the Student Ministries Director here. And if you don't work at a church, that just means I'm like the youth pastor. But you probably guessed that already by my Taco Bell shirt. I'm super excited to be here. Whether you're tuning in online or here in person, I'm glad you are here too. I have some awesome things I want to highlight for you guys. First, starting off with, you probably heard Sarah in the video talk about Takeover. If you have a middle schooler, this event is the most middle schooler event that we've ever done. It's the best. Every year, it's an all-nighter. We're at a water park. Yes, there's caffeine. It's just the best. It's so awesome. I was actually talking to a family in the lobby before I came in here. They have a daughter. She's kind of nervous to come to Breakaway, but she really wants to go to the water park and do this. One of the cool things with that is when she goes to that, she's going to make a ton of friends. So on Sunday mornings, she's going to have no problem getting into Breakaway and meeting people and having fun and seeing her friends. So if you have a middle school student, I highly recommend sending them to that. It's going to be awesome. Sometimes the details get lost in the sauce, but that's really the important information. If you have a middle schooler, go to that. Awesome. Next up, I just want to take a minute to celebrate Girls' Night, which we had last week for our student ministries. We had over 60 girls from all the different campuses here in our building. We put on this amazing event. It was in the great room. I think we have a couple pictures of that, too. So all of our student leaders that are girls, they were there, too, and it was just the best. Actually, it was so awesome. Yeah, there they are. Those are awesome people. Right now, they're with the middle schoolers, just like being the best leaders ever. But yeah, they were there. It was the best. My wife was the host of this event, and she just did an amazing job, so proud of her for that. But this event was so awesome that the guys kind of got a little jealous. So we are putting on for the guys a couple events because we just want to be cool, too. First one is next week. On Saturday, we have Guys and Games. And maybe you're kind of hearing that and you're picturing like some board games, like, Guess Who or whatever. No, the vibe is more like monster trucks and fireworks fireworks and all of that's what we're going for. That's kind of what it's going to be like. We're going to be grilling meat and doing all kind of fun stuff. It's going to be super awesome, but that's at the Troy campus. It's next week at noon, and there's all the details. It's going to be super cool. Another thing that we're doing for the guys, you've probably heard the Iron Sharpens Iron event that's coming up in March. That's a men's conference. It's a full day. It's not just for people who can grow beards. It's people who can't wait to be able to grow beards too. If you have a student, they are welcome for that. There's a whole part of this conference that's made just for high school students. So I'm going to be going. I'm bringing high school students. I'm super excited. It's going to be awesome. And then also, when you were walking in today, did you see a van parked obnoxiously close to the doors? That van is for our Wave Project. Do you guys know what Wave Project is? You ever hear that? Yeah, some of you? It's awesome. Hey, there it is. That's the one. Yeah, that's me. So last week, we mentioned these bags that you can actually participate with the Wave Project. You can grab them on your way out and fill them up and bring them back. If you didn't grab one last week, they're still there on your way out. Make sure you grab one. It's a super awesome thing. You're going to learn more about what Wave Project is in a little bit, but it's one of our Move Out network partners that we do, and it's super awesome. Yeah, if you want to learn more, do that QR code. It's so easy. But that's just one of the many awesome Move Out things that we do, and that's actually something I love about Kensington. It's not just about the church service you go to on Sunday. We're out in the community being the hands and feet of Jesus, and if you ever want to participate in that more or challenge yourself in that or be like, hey, I'm not being the hands and feet of Jesus, but I want to, how can I get plugged in? We have an awesome event online. It's a virtual Move Out event, so you can learn all about all the things that we have going on with Move Out. It's super cool. I highly recommend it. It'll change your life. It's great. But if you have questions about that or anything else I said, we have something special just for you in the lobby, and that's called the Hub. We dress people up in orange shirts so they're hard to miss, and you just go up and they have the answers to all of your questions. They're professionals at getting you connected to what you want to get connected to. So be thinking about that and what questions you have for them. But before we move on to the next part of the service, I just want to welcome you to stand up and say hi to someone next to you.
I remember when I finally could grow a beard, right? Like, it was just a great moment for me. I'm glad to know that anybody can come to the men's conference without. So, hey, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Adam. I do most of the teaching here, and I'm part of the Township team. And what I want to do is just take a couple of minutes and let you in on a resource that we've made available here at our church at the Greater Kensington. I know most of you, or all of you, I'd say, aware that February is the month where we get to celebrate Black History Month. A couple of weeks ago, we had the opportunity to celebrate the legacy and the life of Dr. King. And I know for some of you, you might have been in a church where, you didn't do this, or if you did, it was a quick box check and you kind of moved to the next thing. And honestly, that's just not the heart of who we are at Kensington. And the reason I think why that is important to share is because when we understand the why, it can help us move into something that maybe wasn't so pertinent or necessarily important to us. And the reason we take the time to celebrate Black History Month is we think it is incredibly important to recognize the contributions and achievements of Americans, Black Americans particularly, because of the kind of the plight that our country has gone through. We all know the devastating sin of slavery and the effect that it had on us. But we also know that we want to be in a part of moving away from that into a more unified type of reconciliation process. And the reason we believe that is so important is if you pick up this book and read all throughout that, you will see that this is close to the heart of God. The very first book, the very first chapter of this Bible in Genesis, God tells us that he created everything, but humankind was separated in a way that nobody else was. And that they were made in his own likeness. It doesn't matter what where you're from, the way you look. If you are a human being, you are made in his image. And when people that are made in his image are not treated in the manner that they should be, man, that's near to his heart. You follow the life of Jesus and you see him preaching this command to his followers. He says, treat others the way that you want to be treated. And even in this series that we're in, Micah 6:8, we see that headline of that verse. It says, what does the Lord require of you? He's saying to his people, what is it that I want from you? He wants us to be people that do justice, that love mercy, and that walk humbly with our God. And this is part of the heartbeat of our church. This is important to us. So what we've done is we've created a resource so that we can all learn a little bit more in this February as we celebrate this moment. So if you were to pull up that slide here, we have a QR code. And if you don't have the QR code, it will take you to kensingtonchurch.org/black-history-month. And that will give you all of the resources. So if you got your phone, I would encourage you to pull this up because you can see all this information that we have. We've got a Bible study. Actually, it's a quick devotional I've done this week with John Perkins. Actually, our founder, Steve Andrews, who is here, is going to be speaking, knows John Perkins. He's an incredible author that has written books that have literally changed my life and changed the way I think on that subject. We've got local experiences that you can immerse yourself in to learn. We're going to have some movie nights at our Troy campus, and there's two things I really want to highlight. And the first is called Living Undivided Cohort, the Living Undivided Cohort. I had the opportunity to take this cohort, and it's where you get together with a group of people, and we have an online version and an in-person version, and you get to learn a little bit of a history with 30 other people, some who look like you and some who don't. And then after that, you get together and you share your experiences. And the reason I love this is what it does is it starts to build empathy. See, a lot of us have our own ideas and conceptions, but when we see other people, when we hear their stories, we begin to come to this place where we can empathize with their situation. And when we get there, that's where healing can become. The second thing I want you to focus on, and if you call this place home, I'm saying, I want this to be your homework for this week. On that page, you will see our lead pastor, Craig Mays, and his friends, Dr. Clarence Scholler, being interviewed by Andrew Kim, who is our lead pastor of Troy. This is the picture of it, and I want to encourage you to watch this interview. It's 15 minutes, and in it, you get to see two people share where they were and what they came to understand about their situations and about other people's situations that didn't look like them. And in that moment, Craig Mays specifically talks about the empathy that he started to have for his friend, which led to bridge building. I think the reason this is so important to me is I can tell you exactly where I was when I started to understand that there were people in this country whose plight, whose experience was not the same as mine. And when we start to empathize with them, we start to understand where they come from and what's happened in their life, we are primed in a position to live out this message that God wants to communicate to us, that Jesus led throughout his entire ministry in the Bible. John Perkins, who wrote that devotional, says it like this. I want to quote him because I think it was so valuable. He says, there are moments where glimpses of heaven come down here to earth in our midst. See, when you start to empathize with somebody, when you start to listen to their story and see who they are and where they've been, you come to this place where you can maybe think about things a little bit differently, and bridges can be built to start to heal the wounds and the separations that have been prevalent in our lives. So I just want to encourage you to do that. Band's going to come out now, and they're going to lead us a song that kind of speaks to this theme of being in compassion and kindness. It's a song called For the One. And the very first line that starts out the song is so close, so near to my heart, I wanted to repeat it. It says this. It says, let me be filled with compassion and kindness for the one you love. And what would happen in our lives? What would happen in our communities if we were people who were filled with kindness and compassion for the one he loves? So I want to encourage you, if you want to stand up and sing, you stand up and sing. If you want to sit down and let the words wash over you, you let the words wash over you. You receive this in any way you need, and just be reminded of the words that are saying.
Let me be filled with kindness and compassion for the one for whom you loved and gave your son for humanity. Increase my love. Help me to love with open arms. Love that erases all the lies and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love. Oh, how He loves them. From the homeless to the faithless and in between. He formed us and You made us carefully. 'Cause in the end, we're all Your children. So help me to love with open arms, just like You do. Love that erases all the lies and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see You. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love. Let all my life tell of who You are, of the wonder of Your never-ending love. Let all my life tell of who You are, that You're wonderful and such a good Father. Let all my life tell of who You are, and the wonder of Your never-ending love. Let all my life tell of who You are, that You're wonderful and such a good Father. You are wonderful and such a good Father. So help me to love with open arms, just like You do. A love that erases all the lies and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see You. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love.
The struggles for a lot of the people living on the streets, just to feel safe and cared for, and that I have what I need to survive this day, whether it's finding my next meal or a pair of clothing and trying to get myself in a place where I feel well enough to move forward with this day. Every single part of that is a struggle for these folks. I had seen a article or something from a group called Lava May out of San Francisco, and I was really inspired by this like mobile showers concept that they had. And I started thinking about like, well, what could that look like here in Metro Detroit, and having conversations with some of our core group. And, you know, we really wanted to be intentional about not just having an idea and running with it. We wanted to connect with the community and, you know, see if the need really was one that existed, and also to gather feedback and gain some wisdom and let God work through that. So we started scheduling meetings with local nonprofits that serve the homeless, and we started doing a monthly outreach barbecue to provide food and some items for folks, but also to build some relationships in the community. And overwhelmingly, it became known that, yeah, hygiene is a big issue, and mobile showers were not only a good idea just on the base level of like providing people showers and the opportunity to get clean. It just became really clear to us that it would be amazing to be able to take the resources to the need. WAVE project stands for Welcoming All, Valuing Everyone, and we're a 501c3. We operate a mobile shower service. If you can imagine, like a full-size truck pulling about a 23-foot trailer. Each stall has a sink, a toilet, and a shower in its private space. It's all climate controlled, and it was manufactured specifically so that we can run it 12 months a year. We have one truck, one trailer, the Essentials van, and we literally crisscross all over Metro Detroit.
Downtown, here we go.
Last year, we were able to do like 2,300 showers. We have a couple of coordinators that drive the shower trailer to a site. The Essentials van, which is our mobile clothing closet, also has a coordinator that a lot of times is right there with the shower service. And guests, they come up to the Essentials van and they meet our coordinator and they ask for the clothing that they need. It could be socks, underwear, t-shirts. Sometimes we have sweatpants and jeans.
We have some scarves, some like fleece scarves, hats, gloves, hygiene.
They then take those items over to the shower trailer. Each of our guests normally gets about 15 minutes in the shower. Again, they can lock it. It's completely private and secure.
We do have towels. We give them towels, and they got a whole sink in it, and toilet, and then we got soap and shampoo on the wall, the push button.
Volunteers and employees clean the showers after every single use to make sure that they're clean and they're really nice for our guests, but also safe for our guests. Once their time is done, we like to try to connect with them and have a conversation if we can.
I feel like some of them are my friends, so it's really cool. And when we don't see somebody for a few weeks, we're excited when we see their face again. And sometimes not seeing them could be a good thing. Could mean that they've gotten back on their feet.
Yes, and that's the best part, just being around the community and helping the community.
Why do you want to do this? Is it just...
It's what is right. And I've been in this situation before, and I'm in McCrest's program, and I just completed it. So I was homeless too, and I know what it feel like. I know what it feel like needing help.
You have to kind of give back because I had used the services before in the past, and these are a great group of people to work with. They're nice and kind, and that's like the least I can do is come in and help them out, maybe a couple hours a week or whatever.
Most of us take for granted the idea that we have a functioning, really nice bathroom feet from our bed. And, I challenge people to really think about the value of a shower. We've had multiple guests that have shown up and said, I haven't taken a shower in months. The way one would feel, not only physically, but emotionally in that sort of moment. And so for us, a lot of times guests come up to the shower trailer or the Essentials van, because of all the challenges of living on the streets. They're quite guarded, right? Maybe not in the best mood or, mental state. But if they do trust us and agree to take a shower, once they go in and spend their time, taking a shower and getting refreshed and hopefully putting on a fresh set of clothes, there is nothing better than the moment than when they open that door and their personality completely changes and they come alive. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful moment to be a part of. We love our volunteers and we love our employees, and a lot of people are really kind to me, and I get to do interviews like this, but the reality is it's not me. God has really brought some amazing people to our organization.
It's her birthday! Wish I had something more. I know, it was... Yes. There you go. Oh, baby. For your birthday. I'm like, I gotta have something for her.
This has been the best birthday ever. Thank you.
Take care. Being able to be somebody who is here to see them, to show them love, and know that they're not alone is what we're all about. It's not about ending homelessness. It's about meeting them where they're at and loving them.
The whole time I'm watching that, I'm just thinking, wonder how Jesus feels about the Wave Project. Jesus said, I don't even have a pillow for my head at night. That's what Jesus said. Jesus sees the Wave Project, and I just think he goes, man, this is a beautiful thing. It's incredible. So thankful for Todd and Rocky and Dale and all the men and women that dreamed and have made that happen. And it's meant a lot to me lately. I was thinking about that shower. My wife shattered her leg back in early December. It's been 2 months now. And she had never had to go without a shower. She had to wait 15 days before she could kind of crawl up on her sitting, crawling up backwards up the steps to get in our shower. And after 15 days, there are a few pleasures in life when you're really dirty and you feel the dirt and the stickiness and the grime of your life washed off. And man, the Wave Project is getting it done. It's the absolute image of this verse, Micah 6:8. To love mercy. That's what we're talking about today. To love mercy. Let's say that out loud together. To what? To love mercy. You're giving God's kindness, and you're not giving it on the basis of how it makes you feel or on the basis of the other person deserving it. You're giving God's kindness because, what did the guy in the interview say? Because it's the right thing. So beautifully said. And I thought I love this series that we're in. I'm so grateful for our team. And again, look at our verse for these 3 weeks. Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? Like, what does God want from you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. This love mercy, this acting justly, walking humbly, I look at all these and wish I would have understood these better in my life and would continue to understand them better. But mercy is the tangible expression of love. Mercy without action is not mercy. The loving kindness means there's an action, there's a movement involved. And we'll talk more about that next week. But here's what I want to share with you. He doesn't say what is required of you to do good. He doesn't say love judgment. Like, I grew up in an environment where it was like, man, we love to judge. I don't think we love mercy that much. But we were really excited to point out where somebody had made a mistake or somebody had fallen along the way. So great correcting. And it was funny because it never seemed to work. It never seemed to have a transformational impact on a person's life. But when you get mercy, what happens to you? What happens to you? It changes you. All my life, I keep leaning back towards thinking my job is to judge, and always forgetting that my job is to what? 2 words. Love mercy. 2 months ago when Paula fell and broke her leg, it was kind of some of my good friends in the room know kind of my life the last 6 months, but the last 6 months, 6 months ago, my mom died just short of 97, and I'd spent the last year a lot of time in Memphis, the privilege of caring for her as she died. And that last year was the only really tough year of her life, but it was really tough, and we had a lot of really bad moments. And it was amazing as she was dying, and even at the funeral and beyond, what it felt like to receive mercy and kindness from people. Tangible acts of love, written letters, meals, things. And then, this last Sunday, a week ago today, I was in Memphis officiating the funeral of my nephew who was killed in a plane crash at 33. Left my niece with 3, and Elsie's 3 and JB's 1, and she's a widow. And for our family, it brought back so much grief because my grandfather was killed when my mother was 3 in a plane crash 94 years ago. And to see over the last century, to see God's mercy on our family. So I just want you, if you can tune me out for the next 30 minutes, but I just want to say, when you love mercy, when you show mercy, well, there was a gal back in the green room, one of the volunteers, she said, my hashtag for this year is going to be hashtag show mercy, right? Because it changes people's lives. So I want to go back to, so in between these two funerals, Paula's shattered leg was really tough. She fell down the basement steps and shattered it kind of at an angle. So it was like a 4-hour surgery, putting together her little teeny leg back together. And they were really worried about osteoporosis and the pain. They put a rod above the knee, down through the back of the knee, through the marrow of the tibia, your big bone, all the way down to the ankle. And that was the boy, her knee's been killing her. But here's what I want to say. I want to say to those of you who do this, stop doing this. My wife and her sisters are all moved too fast. They're all like Speedy Gonzales. I mean, they're just crazy. And so, Paula, we were just back. We had just taken 45 people to Israel from Kensington, had an awesome trip. And she was getting ready for Christmas. And a lot of you ladies know this. This is self-evident, but sometimes to a guy it's not. Is when Christmas comes, you have to replace your pillows in your living room with Christmas pillows, right? Women, let me hear from you. You got to get those Christmas pillows out. So Paula's running around the house, and she's whipping the pillows down the basement. And then I had also just finished a 3-week bout with shingles when I got back, which is really fun. And I wish I had gotten my vaccine. So I kind of had to lay low for several weeks, trying not to get other people who had chicken pox, you know. Anyway, so on my first day back, I was having a meeting with Jeff Frick. Some of you guys know Jeff because some of you, he's just an ambassador for Jesus Christ. But every time I meet with Jeff, something happens. So I'm not going to meet with him for a while. So I get a call from my wife. She says, I've fallen down the basement. So what happened, she was carrying a box. She wasn't able to turn the basement light on, and she forgot there were pillows on the steps, and she stepped and fell down and shattered her leg. And the worst part at the moment was she realized she was going to, either pass out or vomit, and she realized her phone was in the kitchen, on the kitchen counter by the kitchen sink. So she had to crawl back up the basement steps, cross the kitchen floor, get up on her knees to get her phone and call me. So by the time I got home, she's laying face first on the kitchen floor, and I'm like, honey, there's no way I'm getting you up and getting you to an emergency room. And so I called EMS, and here's where the message starts. When those two guys walked into our house, it was like two angels of God had appeared in our house. They didn't know us. We had no inherent value except we were human beings. We weren't objects. They were so tender with her as they immobilized her leg. They got her over. They got her in the gurney. They made her laugh. I don't know those guys' names. I thanked them several times. But for the rest of my life, I'll think of two guys, and every time I think about them, I'll have this wave of emotion because they showed mercy. They weren't like, well, you know, Miss Andrews, you shouldn't throw pillows down the basement, Steph, right? Because we wanted to, like, what were you doing that for? Now, my solution is forget the Christmas pillows. But you can't do that because then life's not as fun. And I thought, over the last 2 months, we've been overwhelmed. People have brought us meals. People have come over to hang out. People have served us with so many kindnesses, our kids. And I just thought, why do we think mercy is this little bowl that we have, this little tiny bowl of mercy, and we've got to like sprinkle it to people? Guys, mercy is an overflowing flood of joy that comes from Jesus Christ. The more you let out, the more it fills up. It's like it's the pool that there's no bottom to. And here's what I want to say about Clinton Township. I've always loved this campus because there's so much mercy here. It's always been such a place of welcoming and loving, and man, it's a place where people aren't trying to fix you. They're trying to love you and see how they can encourage you. And I thought, man, to just give people a clean shower. Todd Gordon's in the room, you guys. I never saw a homeless person in my life. They were objects to me. They were like fixtures at the intersection of a street corner. And I'm supposed to be leading Jesus Church and having a vision for people and seeing people. And I didn't see them. Thank God there are people that see. And you know why we come together? Part of the reason we come together is to help each other see. Like, if you go on our, if you don't have the Kensington app, please download it and have it. I looked at it, I went through it. John Perkins, we're going to do his 7-day devotional. John Perkins is maybe the greatest man I've ever met in my whole life. And man, he has battled the most unbelievable circumstances in Mendenhall and Jackson, Mississippi, like you cannot believe. And he is the most loving guy in the world. And he's electric with mercy and love. Like I've never been anybody quite around him. I wish we could drag him. He's almost 90. Wish I could drag him in here. You wouldn't believe it. Because mercy, God's mercy never ends. It never runs out. And we, as a community, can start living this way. And I just think the last 2 months of being a recipient for the first time in my life of people bringing meals to our house. Never happened before. What an incredible thing. I've gained 9 pounds. Stop it. Just stop coming. Stop bringing it. Dr. King, who's such a part of this, by the way, on the app, the Black History Month app is just, it's phenomenal. And I think this whole thing of starting to feel other people, to feel empathy. It's like, Todd, you guys are like teaching me empathy where I didn't have it. Shame to say it. Dr. King talked about this mercy when it comes to loving our enemies. He said there's a power there that eventually transforms individuals. That's why Jesus says love your enemies, because if you hate your enemies, you have no way to redeem and transform your enemy. Like, you can't change someone unless you begin to love them. Sometimes we think we can change people by jamming something down onto them. But all that makes is resistant. But love and acts of kindness is something incredible. And I thought, isn't that what we want? So that's what we're going to talk about for the next few minutes. Before we do that, we're going to receive our offering. And I just want to say this. What a joy for some of you that are going to enjoy making a special contribution to the Wave Project. When you go out and hang out, do that today. A week ago Friday, we had our Hope Water Gala where people gave $250,000 for clean wells with our ministry in Kenya. And you know what that $250,000 means? It means that 9,000 people who are dying from drinking feces and bacteria-laden water are going to live. And they're going to see their children live and not die because we get to be the hands and feet of Jesus in the world. And those people are not only living, they're coming to Jesus. And what we're seeing is people from the Pokot tribe are going out to other tribal groups all over Africa. Is it to talk about the love of Jesus Christ? And where there's been enemies and hatred, Reuben Mariakal, you guys, some of you know Reuben. The church is growing among the Karamojong. Do you realize the Pokot and the Karamojong have been killing each other for as long as we know that history's been going on? And now they're starting to fellowship together in Christ. It started with clean water. It's amazing. So let's talk about mercy. I'm going to just give you a simple definition. I'd love for you to write this down. I'd actually love for you to take a picture of a slide. I think it'll transfer, but I want to just do, it's a technical, kind of a technical look at the word mercy from the Old Testament by Carolyn Custis James. Let's take a look at it. Mercy comes from the Hebrew word hesed, okay? And hesed, the problem with this word mercy is it does not have an English translation. There's really no English word that captures the richness of this idea of mercy. But some of the words we get from it are kindness, mercy, loyalty. My favorite, probably the one that I think comes closest, is the loving kindness of God expressed to another person or received from another person or from God to us. This picture of loving kindness. But there's loyal, steadfast, unfailing love. It's like it's a loving kindness that just keeps coming. It just keeps being there for people. And so then you could say that Hesed is simply a love your neighbor as yourself brand of living. An act of undeserved love for others that is both costly yet unrelenting. So if you were 5 days without a shower, or 2 months without a shower, how bad would you want to shower? And so you see people, and you know how they long to be clean and put on a clean change of clothes. And the dignity that gives to another human being created in the image of God. What about the people of Pokot, of giving clean water, living a new life? The ministry that we work with in Nepal that has rescued over 100,000 girls in interviews from the border and seen thousands of them restored over the last 20 years. Right? The dignity of being saved from a life of despair. So I wanted to give you an image of mercy for the last few minutes of our morning. And it's a story that most of you don't know. It's a Old Testament book of the Bible called Hosea. Hosea was a prophet, and he got the invitation from God to communicate to his nation who had turned away from God to model what it was like to love, to show great mercy, even though there was great unfaithfulness. And I got to tell you, I grew up in church every Sunday. I heard every Bible study. This story has never been told in Sunday school. In fact, for those of you who don't know the Bible, or you're just exploring what God is like with us today here or online, I'm just going to tell you, you're going to be surprised at what I share with you. Because this is what God said to Hosea. The Lord said to Hosea, go and marry a prostitute. Actually, the translation in the NIV of a promiscuous woman is a mistranslation. Promiscuous woman or promiscuous man is someone just is being undisciplined and irresponsible and just going around kind of whatever. No, a prostitute is someone who's enslaved by other people in forced behavior that they're locked into. They can't get out of unless someone rescues them. And some of you that don't know the Bible, you should know this, that in Nepal today, or India, or in America, where human trafficking is a tremendous problem, in this city, and people are addicted to drugs and they're ensnared in this life and they can't get out, and sometimes when they want to get out, they say, if you do get out, we'll kill your family. God tells Hosea, I want the people of Israel to know how much I love them, so I want you to go find a prostitute and marry her and have children with her. Now, I've often wondered, did Hosea do this willingly? Or he was like, oh, crud, great to be a prophet of God. I don't know. I don't know how he felt, but I know how he obeyed. And so he married Gomer, which is not the greatest name anybody's ever been given, the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Now listen, she's going to have 3 kids. The Lord says, call the first kid Jezreel, because I'm going to punish the house of Jehu. Jehu was one of the worst kings in the history of Israel, and he led the whole nation away from God. God says, I'm going to punish his family. And he says, I'm going to put an end to the kingdom of Israel. The kingdom of Israel got split in the northern and southern kingdom, and this was the northern part that just ran away from God as fast as they could. And in verse 5, he says, in that day I will break Israel's bow in the valley of Jezreel. And then, so that's the first one. So trouble's coming. That's the first kid. Trouble's coming. Second kid is Lo Ruhamah, which means, I don't love you. I don't love you as my child. How'd you like to have that name? Lo Ruhamah. Fortunately, I've never met anybody named for that. God says, for I will no longer show love to Israel. I want you to remember that, because you're thinking, wow, God's getting pretty tough. I'm not going to show love. Is that really true? We're going to find out. That I should at all forgive them. Yet I will show love to Judah, and I will save them, not by bow, sword, or battle, or by horses and horsemen, but I, the Lord their God, will save them. And then it gets even worse. Third kid, third son, is Lo Ami, which means not mine. Not my people, not my son. I'm not your father. In other words, Gomer has already, because of probably the brokenness and the trauma of her life, and any of you who have been abused know how the trauma, it's so hard to break free of trauma. It's so hard to move on, to create new patterns in your life. It's so easy to fall back. Even in Nepal, when we see girls rescued and starting to be restored, these girls have been trafficked in India, there's still a part of the brokenness that they can fall back into the life. And that's why we're working so hard to bring Jesus and to bring hope and to bring change. So these three kids, trouble, I don't love you. And the third one is, you're not even mine. I'm not even your father. It's terrible. So you think, wow, what Hosea does is really noble, but it all blows up in his face, and Gomer, it doesn't work for them. So, chapter 2. Chapter 2, the story moves from Hosea and Gomer to how God talks about the people of Israel that he loves. That he says, I'm going to punish you, and I'm not going to love you anymore. Look at what he says. I will not show my love to her children because they are the children of adultery. Their mother's been unfaithful and has conceived them in disgrace. And she said, I'll go after my lovers who give me my food and my water and my wool and my linen, my olive oil and my drink. In other words, in this image, we don't know this is true of Gomer, but we know this is true of Israel. They're like, man, I'm going to go where the fun is. And I'm going to go and I'm going to run after other lovers. And I'm going to go party. And I'm going to have fine linen and olive oil and I'm drinking. I'm just going to have a great time. God says, there's two verses I didn't get in here. I got to read to you. God says this. He says, therefore, this is part of God's punishment. You think, God says, I'm going to punish you. I want you to hear the punishment. God says, first of all, I will block her path with thorn bushes. I will wall her in so that she cannot find her way. Does that sound like punishment? Does it sound like punishment to you? Not to me. You're running headlong into death, misery, disease, destruction, brokenness of family, and what does God say? I'm going to build a wall around you that's going to slow you down. Even in that, I see incredible mercy, but it gets better. Wait. He says, I will wall her in so she can find her way. She'll chase after her lovers but not catch them. She'll look for them but not find them. Then she'll say, I'll go back to my husband as at first, for then I was better off than now. Now here's the incredible thing, you guys. Never saw this before. She goes, well, let me ask all of you in this room to think about, when did you pursue unlimited pleasure and find that it satisfied you? Like, what if you lived day after day and you just ate to the point of where you couldn't move day after day after day? Are you going to be satisfied? Are you going to feel good? Are you going to go, man, this is so rewarding? You're not. I have known so many men and women in my life said, I'm going to live a promiscuous life. I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to be free and I'm just going to do whatever. I'm like, how did that work for you in the end? Not good. Because it doesn't satisfy. What satisfies? I'll tell you what satisfies. Loving mercy. Showing mercy. Receiving mercy. Being in deep relationships where we forgive and are forgiven. And all of us find ourselves in situations we don't know what to do. We have relationships that break and we don't know how to mend them. But we know one thing. We need to receive mercy and we need to show it. We need to love it. So Gomer's the picture of how all of us try to satisfy our life without God, and in the end, God says, no, I'm going to put a wall around you. And then this is great. Guys, this is one of my favorite parts of the Bible. You ready? Everybody with me? Two of you. Great, okay. Okay, anybody on live stream? Help, anybody? Okay. Verse 13. God says, I'm going to punish her for the day she burned incense to the Baals. God's going to punish her. Okay, you ready for this? This is amazing. She decked herself with rings and jewelry, and she went after her lovers. By the way, the worship of the Baals and the Ashtoreths was just like one huge sex orgy. That's what it was in those days. And it was so hurtful to God and to what God wanted for people. So here comes the punishment. You ready? Tell me you're ready. Okay, you ready? Therefore, God says, I'm going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. Wow. God really knows how to let somebody have it. You're really, really mad at your kids? I'm going to let you have it. Hey, let's just can we talk for a minute? Okay, that's the first punishment. Ouch. Verse 15, there I will give her back her vineyards. That's like disciplining your kids by taking them to McDonald's for large McFlurries. Do you understand how radical, tell me, do you understand how radical this is? God says, I'm going to punish you by giving you back your vineyards. And I'm going to make the valley of Achor a door of hope. In other words, I'm not going to have a wall of thorns. I'm going to have a door of hope that you can walk in. You have a life of hope. It gets even better. Ready for more punishment? So somebody say, I can take this kind of punishment. Okay? He goes, there she will respond as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. God is saying, you know how I'm going to punish you? I'm going to restore your youth to you. I mean, is anybody in the room surprised by this? This is unbelievable. Verse 16, in that day, declares the Lord, you will call me my husband. You will no longer call me my master. I tell you, this is so full of the New Testament. This point where she wants to go back to her husband because at least she'd be better off there. It's exactly what the prodigal son, the story Jesus tells about the prodigal son, says, I'm going to go back to my father because at least I can have 3 square meals a day and have a roof over my head, even though I'm not worthy to be his son anymore. And here, this incredible thing says, Jesus said to his disciples, he said, you know, in most of these situations, and people are rabbi, he said, the people that follow them, he said, people call you servants. He said, I'm not going to call you servants anymore. I'm going to call you my friends. This is so Jesus, you guys, the story. Hundreds of years before Jesus, the story of Hosea is literally the living vision of what Jesus would do. Verse 19, I'm almost done. I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you in righteousness and justice and in love and compassion. Okay, you know what you're going to get for being so bad? I'm going to give you righteousness, justice, love, and compassion. And I'll betroth you forever. I'll betroth. I'll marry you. I'll commit myself to you forever. Is that unreal? And the earth will respond to the grain, the new wine, the olive oil, and they'll respond. And I'll plant her for myself in the land, and I will show my love to the one I called not my kid. And I'll say to those, not my people, you are my people. And they'll say, you are my God. Now listen, you could be the greatest skeptic. You could be like spit on God. But you hear this story, you've got to admit that this God that gives compassion and unfailing mercy is pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. That he offers righteousness, love, and compassion. How do you explain this kind of loving mercy from God? This is the same loving mercy that says God loved the world, loving kindness, gave loving kindness so much to the world that he sent his one and only Son. This is the Father who sees the prodigal son sees him walking home in rags. And it says the father goes running to him, which would be a disgrace for an older man in Middle Eastern culture, because he's got to wrap his arms around him before the community drives him out. It's an incredible image. And to say, what if we were a community that showed loving kindness, not on the basis of what people deserve, but on the love and the beauty of Jesus Christ. One last part of the story. God gives Hosea one more assignment. After the third kid, the not my kid, Gomer goes back into prostitution, and she goes into pursuing all this other brokenness. Don't know if she's like trapped or what her willful choices are. We don't know, but she's trapped. This is what God says. Here's the last form of God's punishment for Hosea to give to Gomer. You ready for this? Because you never read this anywhere else in the world. There's no other literature you'll find like this. Go show your love to your wife again, though she is loved by another man and is an adulteress. Love her as the Lord loves the Israelites. Remember the ones he punished so bad? By bringing them back and giving them new grain and wine and protecting them. And so look at what Hosea says in verse 2. So I bought her for 15 shekels of silver and about a homer and a lethek of barley. And I told her, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever read, and I'm going to explain it to you why. He says, you're to live with me many days. You must not be a prostitute or be intimate with any man, and I will behave the same way towards you. You see, a person caught in that lifestyle gets pulled out of it, everything is a trigger. Everything is power and control. Everything is abuse. And Hosea goes, I'm going to bring you and I'm going to put you in a safe place. And I'm not going to bring you out for any benefit for me. This is what God says to us. God doesn't give us love for his own benefit. He gives us love for our benefit. He goes, I'm going to bring you in a safe place, and you're going to break from all these old, destructive, crushing, heartbreaking patterns of your life, and I'm going to create a safe place for you. And I'm not doing it to get anything back from you, because I'm going to live, and I'm going to live the same way you're living, but I'm going to create a safe place for you. Do you realize whatever your background of abuse or your hurt, or wherever that Jesus Christ is saying, come to me and be safe? Come to me and receive mercy. And you know what else he's saying to us? Come to me and show mercy with me by my Holy Spirit. Like, come and live, Jesus says, come and live with me, and let's give mercy to the world. There's three things that happen when mercy is shown. God's heart is reflected. We become as human as we ever are is when we're showing mercy. When we're judging and we're criticizing, we're hurting people, that is, you're not going, man, I felt fully human as I was smacking you in the face. No, I feel human as I was showing you and gave you love that you didn't earn or deserve. But the last thing that's so powerful about this mercy is that everybody at some point in their life, and probably multiple times, ends up at the bottom of the basement steps. And all they can do is crawl. That's not a 1 out of 100. That's 100 out of 100. That's going to happen to everybody. When you're helpful, when you're helpless, you're powerless. And that's what, I'll finish with this, and the band can come out. Romans 5, Paul is talking about what Jesus did for us. And he says, you see, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. That's what Gomer was. She was powerless. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die in their place. But God demonstrates his love for us, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Man alive, what would it be like if in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our workplaces, in this church, in this broader community, if our lives were showing this kind of mercy? Wouldn't it be amazing? I say, how about it? How about it? How about if we said, we're going to love mercy? Let's say it. Love mercy. Not love judgment, not try to fix people, but say, I want to be the instrument of the grace of Jesus Christ, no matter what happens. And not only will people be blessed, but when the day comes when you're at the bottom of the basement steps and you're broken, all you can do is cry out, you'll know that Jesus Christ has always been there for you, and that you experience it through other people. That's the beauty of what we could be as a church. So, Lord, thank you. Thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for these beautiful brothers and sisters that are loving mercy and seeking to grow and show it. Lord, just continue to work and move in us powerfully. And we look forward to all the things that we're going to learn, this month. Thank you for the Black History app that we can learn and grow and learn empathy, Lord. Thank you for Todd and the Wave Project team that have taught me empathy. Lord, why did it take me so long to even begin to see things? Open my eyes, open our eyes to see the world as you see it, to love as you love it. In Jesus' name.
was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, in grace my fears relieved, and now precious did the grace appear, the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace, unending love, amazing grace. Holy, overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, finds still I found, leaves the 99, and I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down,
It's so cool to do this, man. Love you. Thank you. Wasn't that beautiful, man? Thank you for the team. I was thinking, wanted to add one other piece today related to iron sharpens iron, and I want to hand it back to Adam. I love this Clinton community because there's such a willingness to just like hear from God and go for it. And one of the things that I love is Jim Hinkle and the team of men, the men's ministry, has had such a passion for connecting men and moving out. And I love that they're creating this conference for the whole Detroit area. And I want to say this: if you're struggling or don't know how to show mercy, the greatest thing you can do is get in community where people are trying to do it. So you're not trying to do it alone, but you're doing it in community because there's such a power when we're together. I know, like when I come here today, I just feel the power, what it's like to belong together.
Yeah, community is such an important element, and I know in a room like this, some of you are lacking, and maybe some of you are wanting, and we would love you to plug into Iron Sharpens Iron, but we have community that happens every week. And if you have a question about how it is that you could maybe jump in or join, I would really encourage you, stop at that hub, those people with the orange shirts. Just tell them that's something that they're interested in. They give you some times or options, or even if you want one of us on staff to call you and talk to you, let them know that. They will take down your number and information, and we would love to reach out with you and do that. And I also just want to encourage you, go to the resources page, check out some of this stuff. I mean, something beautiful happens when we start to put in this loving mercy practice in our lives and in our greater community.
Oh, virtual event.
Virtual event, yes. And February 13th, we're going to have the virtual event. Would love you to go online, check that out, and be a part of that with us as well.
Because that's going to be all 50. I think you can connect to any of our 50 move-out groups that are doing unbelievable stuff. I just feel incredibly honored to know all of these people that are stepping in to show the love of Christ. So thanks. Yep. Thanks for a wonderful day. It's great being with you. I'll see you soon. I'm coming back.
If you'd like somebody to pray for you, we're going to have our prayer team down in front. Love to pray for you. Love to have you back here. We're going to finish up Micah 6:8 talking about justice. But until then, have a fantastic Sunday, and we'll see everybody next time.